You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. Your love changes everything. There's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes every. You turn my morning into dancing. 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 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. 'Cause your love changes everything. Your love changes everything. Oh, there's something about your love. Something about your love changes everything in my body. Oh, something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. It changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. Changes everything. Something about your love. Something about your love changes everything. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into dancing. You turn my morning into
Good morning, Rooted Men. Matt Ryan, Elder Firmly Rooted Ministries. Pleasure to be with you this morning. It's Friday. Made it through another week. It's still not 70 degrees, so I guess I won't talk about the weather. But hey, it's Super Bowl weekend, so we got that game that nobody wants to watch to look forward to. At least that's something, I guess. So hoping that you're going to have a chance to be spending some time, whether it be over the football game or whatever it is, with some people you love this weekend, friends, family, whatever it is. I'm hoping that there's some opportunity for connection. One of those things that just keeps hammering me lately the more and more I think about it, is how important connection is, how we're created to be in community with one another. It's one of those things that we think about academically, but boy, we kind of take it for granted, right? Someone like me, I'm really bad at building relationships and friendships. It's something I've had to come to terms with. You know, it's one of those things as adults, right? As a kid, you're around kids all the time and you're in school and you have all these shared experiences and you make friends. And the more grown up life becomes, the harder that seems to be. And some of us just lack that skill. So anyway, that's the lens through which I've been thinking about everything that I'm reading lately. So of course, that's the lens through which I'm reading today's, reading through Judges. And it's always this thing with the Old Testament readings, right? We're trying to figure out and relate to these people whose lives are so different. And here we have Gideon, who's called to be this warrior. And, we spend a lot of energy, I guess I would say. We are so often talking about, let me try to get rid of that. Let's see there we go. Oh, and another one came up anyway. We spend so much energy. Oh, no, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, today I think as men especially, we tend to focus a lot on that warrior mindset. There's so much in the gospel. There's so many times that the imagery of a warrior is used because it's a common experience, right? Well, this is when it was a common experience. And these warriors were going out and fighting in battle. And, the ones that had God with them, there's all kinds of story about his provision during those times. And this is one of those today it's just tough because it just doesn't make any sense, right? God ever ask you to do something that doesn't make any sense? I would ask you if your wife has, but I don't want to go there. And maybe we'll leave this with God, right? So, we're looking at here, there's 30-some, 40-some thousand troops, and God says, oh, you have too many. I can't let you win with that many. Wait, what? You're the God of all the universe, right? You've promised for all these years that you're going to use me to eliminate these Midianites, and now I have too many people and we're too strong. And he starts talking about, I can't have you boasting or taking credit. Whoa, that doesn't make any sense at all, right? And that's, of course, our lizard human brain tells us that can't be. I must be misunderstanding God. But what happens when God shows his strength through our weakness, right? That's the story, right? The sermon you would hear from this reading anytime would be, the story about to God be all the glory. And there's no way the glory could be on Gideon this way. There's no way it could be anything but God that caused these 300 warriors that were left to be able to go and defeat the Midianites. What an interesting thing to look at. Not only does God need this glory, right? Need is such a term, but he needs it to serve the purpose of helping the world to understand that he's in control, right? And of course, there's different ways he can show that, but it's just interesting as they're preparing to engage the enemy. And he says, take these 10,000 down to the water. Tell them to take a drink. The ones who drink out of their hands, take the battle with you. The ones who do not, and that's not exactly how he says it, I'm paraphrasing obviously, but the ones who do not, who get down on their knee to drink, supposedly dipping their face right into the water, don't take them. And so God, of course, is in control of the 300 drinking it that particular way. And again, you go, well, that doesn't make any sense. My whole life, I've picked who should go into battle based on their skill and their strength and their loyalty. And you're telling me that the way they drink water from a creek is how I'm supposed to judge them now? Wait a minute. You know, man, God doesn't make sense. We don't understand what he asks us to do. And yes, the natural message to go to from that is we step in faith and he will meet us there because we are part of his purpose, and his purpose cannot be quashed out. And he can do great things through us. We say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But the reality is God can do great things with broken people. And it seems like the weaker we are and the more desperate our situation, the more powerful the story is, the more powerful the glory is for God as we dig our way out of it, we work our way out of it, and he works our way out of it and turns us into a redemption story. So, yes, listening to the Lord when he doesn't make sense and stepping in and doing what he says and not trying to make sense in your world. And his glory is the most important thing. And yes, there's a lesson in here about faith in him is essential for victory. And what does that victory mean for us, right? Victory over everything we're dealing with, not just eliminating some threat because we're not warriors, right? We talk about war. We use parts of our lives as though we're at war. We use the terminology of war to dramatize what we're going through, but we're not, right? So being alert and obedient and living in the orders that God gives is where he succeeds. So for me, all those things are, yes, important parts and important things to take from this. But for me, it's cutting right back to what I said at the beginning. What are you doing to build community? What are you doing about the broken relationships in your life? What are you doing about the hurts? Are you sitting in them and stewing in them because that's all you know how to do? Are you waiting for them to come to you to find atonement, to fix the brokenness because it's their fault, isn't it? Are you just staying at home because it's more comfortable? I got all this TV, I got all these streaming services, I got my routine, I can just sit in my chair and I don't have to be bothered with people. I'm telling you, man, we're missing out on so much of the life God created for us because we're getting sucked into devices and sucked into these addictions and these habits that are terrible for us. But one of the reasons that are overlooked about why they're terrible is because they isolate us from other people. So I'm going to ask you to do something that doesn't make sense. I'm challenging you today. Call that person you haven't called. Write a letter to them. Tell them you love them and you miss them. The hurt's real, but it doesn't have control over you. Do the things that don't make sense. Reach out to people that you want to thank for something, but you never had the words. You appreciate them. You see them. You witness them doing a great job as a teacher or a leader or whatever it is. You see them and you believe positive things about them, but you don't say them. Do it today. Start affirming the people around you. Start building those bridges to community. What are you adding to other people's lives? What benefit are you bringing by being present? Man, I think this world would change so much if we just said the positive things we think about each other. We have all kinds of ways to vent out the negative stuff. But what if we just started building each other up and saying thank you? And that building up even means for people who've hurt me before, for people who've done unthinkable things, for relationships that might be broken. Here's the thing I miss about us. Here's the thing I love about you. Here's the thing I cherish about the friendship we used to have. I just wanted to let you know. Do something that doesn't make sense today. I love you, gentlemen. I am excited to hear about what you do. I thought about just saying that in the beginning and having this be a 30-second devotion, and some of you might have appreciated that, but sometimes we know what's right, but it doesn't make sense, and it's not comfortable, and we don't do it. Let's let yesterday be the last day of our lives that we stayed in a trap, that we didn't do the right thing. New life starts today. We're going to do the next right thing. And that means us reaching out and us building bridges and us being intentional about building friendships and community and relationships because we need them desperately. I know I do. All right. Let's have a great day, gentlemen. Let's make it a firmly rooted day. May someone see Jesus in us today. Peace.